And we are on our second show
Of
of the
today.
day and our second show of a new series that we started running last week. It's the Sports Roundup.
And where we found a second Tom Brady.
I know. Now we're not gonna do this all the time, but it's like I like obviously names because I got Rockland News, Rockland Web, blah 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 blah. But me and Tom Brady have been talking over the last few weeks. Thomas Brady is a sports performance coach in the Rockland County area, and he's been on the show before. And this is one of our inaugural episodes where we're going to start talking about local sports in Rockland County. So I'm going to introduce Thomas Brady. And hey, man, thanks for being on the show today on Rockland News.
Sure thing. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate the opportunity again to be here and talk all good things sports and getting in shape to play sports.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Now you've been an aficionado, and you appreciate sports. You actually got into it as a career. So let's start off with this. You have a sports performance coach company, and tell us about what you do.
So I'm a strength and conditioning coach and personal trainer. I got into that just from being an athlete, my entire life, and a high school and college athlete. And I just found a passion that I love to help kids get to that next level. I didn't have a strength and conditioning coach till I got to college, and now I see. I think we all see like kids sports today, youth sports. We see like, wow, these kids are great athletes. These kids can do amazing things by the time they reach later in high school. Never mind seeing great athletes in college. We're seeing them on the high school and even late grammar school. And a lot of it is they get moving and they get professional help early. So back in our day, it was, don't lift weights, it stunts your growth. But now we know how, moderate resistance training can actually help the body grow to its maximum length and how it, improves your performance, not only as an athlete, just in everyday life.
Now, from a place of strength training, that technology and that science has changed over the last 10, 15, 20, even 50 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Can you talk a little bit more about what are more modern methods and what are some of the things that we were doing wrong? If you're a Gen Xer like myself, right?
Yeah.
We were told some of the things the wrong way, just like you were alluding to. So.
Yeah, and I'm a Gen Xer also, and so we were told don't lift weights to stunt your growth. So, but now we know. Basically, on your soft tissue, your muscle turns into a tendon, and your tendon is what inserts into your bone. We now know through science, the more you challenge that tendon at a good rate, okay, when I say good rate, that's your intensity, it will, we all heard the term growth plates. So your tendon inserts near your growth plates on your bones. So when you challenge that tendon, it'll challenge that bone to grow to its maximal length. So like myself, I had a serious heart surgery when I was younger, and the doctor said, "Wow, this kid's going to be well over 6 feet tall."
Wow.
Well, I'm only 5'8". What happened?
Yeah.
So my growth plates were larger than what I turned out to be, but now we know if the right intensity resistance training, basically you're challenging the muscle to pull on that tendon to challenge the bone, which we now know on the other end of life, when you hear about osteoporosis, what's the one thing they need? They need strength training to strengthen their bones. And this is the same exact reason why.
Yeah, and it works from A to Z, I imagine. It's like, from one end of life to the other.
That's 100%, and that's what we, professionals like myself try to not only educate, but show people. So early on, we might only be working 20, 30, 40% intensity, but we're challenging it. And we're challenging it in a safe and what is considered at that time as we get to that full grown, and once we're fully grown, we're that's when you start slapping on weights. That's when you start worrying, getting some, maximal intensities, doing that 1, 2, 3 rep to get really stronger, So, but it's a lot safer for the body then because the body's prepared for it.
Yeah, I have a colleague, and he's very tuned into the idea of making sure that his kids are, sports well fit. Like, he got them started in boxing and all different sorts of things. And watching how the kids are growing up, he lives in another state. And the kid is actually, I think he's like about 12, 13 years old now. And he's going into like a junior MMA competition. And I'm just like, whoa, that's unbelievable. So, it sounds like from what you're telling us is that, getting them into the habit of good sports early on is a really good thing for longevity, quite frankly.
Oh yeah. And, I would love to, be alive 50 years from now just to see
Yep.
have we reduced the osteoporosis by doing this earlier? Because my guess is we have in the people that did it. But then there's the other end of society that I believe isn't doing anything.
Right.
And unfortunately, the phones, the video games, that generation, they aren't doing enough activity. So
Yeah.
I call it like basically when you think of our socioeconomic, we have the wealthy, we have the middle class and lower middle class, and the people who are unfortunate. So I say the same thing about, being in shape. We're basically cutting out the middle class. Like we're not going to have a middle class in 30, 40 years.
That's a good point. And it's not talked about much, but movement is absolutely, it's like a higher dimension of once the body is moving, it creates a different paradigm. And that spills into, your socioeconomics, it spills into your social interactions.
Yep.
I agree.
It's it's that mind body connection that you always hear that term, but it's true, and so my belief is we're gonna have a percentage of the population in the next 20, 30 years who are going to be extremely healthy, doing crazy things in their 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah.
And then we're on the flip side, we could have diseases we never heard of through inactivity as a youth. Kids not getting out there and just riding their bike after school. We don't see that, and that's very unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, now you're talking my language because my grandfather had a bike store in New York City for about 50 years. He moved it up to West Haverstraw, moved our family up here in the early 80s. And, we had the bike store for many years on Route 9W. So he always professed the importance of movement. And I think he did this metaphorically, but he would tell me that movement is the fifth dimension. Because changing the paradigm and everything huge into the the bicycle thing. I mean, and I admitted to you early on, Mike knows this as well, that I'm not a sports person per se, but I do bicycle, and I was in the gym last night over at New York Sports Club. Me and Keith, we were just like we did arms yesterday, and I have to say I just started going back to the gym about 4 months ago. And just from the fact that I'm making the effort, and it's not like I look like Arnold in any way, quite the opposite, but it changes the feeling, if you will. And it informs the rest of my day. So it really, it's turned into a good thing. And safety is also a big component of training, especially at high levels. Now,
hold on, even in the lower levels, we have snow upon snow upon snow. If you had already been training, you are less likely to hurt yourself when you have to shovel all that snow.
That's true. Yeah.
If you go for a walk in any of the village, town, county parks, just go for a walk, get some fresh air, move your body.
Totally.
Like that. That's, to me, that's a place to start. I was never into sports as a kid. I mean, I played North Rockland Soccer Association.
Oh, you did?
I did.
That's cool.
Back when it wasn't even by the Palisades, when it was where the dump is now, down by Grassy Point.
Yeah, next to Bowling.
But I went the route of musician, and as our previous guest Seth was talking about, he turned a musical career into a sports career.
Yeah. It's amazing, right?
So I encourage all of the students to try a little bit of everything. And I don't know about you, Tom, of the Tom Brady. How do you encourage the very young to find what sport or activity is best for them when you're trying to get them into this better body place. Because certain sports are just better for you than others by your build and by your physiology and by your genetics, right?
Yeah. How do you get the kids to pick and choose the sport they want?
Right.
Yeah. The greatest thing with kids is, if you use your own kids as sometimes an example, is sometimes you just throw everything at them, almost like throwing the mud on the wall.
Yeah.
Eventually, the cream rises to the top, and it's not even you telling them or even coaching them at a certain point of what you think. You're going to see where their passion starts to go. You're going to see what they're good at. You're going to see, sometimes kids walk away from something they're good at because they love something else. And that's fine. But I think the more we give them, you talk about a perfect example like sports and music, but that's great that you were active as a young kid. Now that's what we need to do. Like everybody should be thrown into it, like a soccer league or something when they're young that's active, and then you get to see as people grow. Like I said, I think it's pretty easy. You get to see the passions rise to the top.
Yeah.
So, I have a daughter that's in a sophomore in high school, and, I see her basketball passion really rising to the top right now. My 8th grader, almost the same thing. It looks like basketball, what we thought 2 years ago was going to be soccer. And maybe, she also plays Gaelic football. She played tennis for a while, and she played tennis for about a year and a half, and she was great. I mean, I was ready to go private coach, do all this type of stuff, and she just didn't want to do it anymore. So, when a kid tells you that, you just, you don't.
Yeah, you got to go along with the program, I imagine.
Yeah, you don't force it on them, and you just let them see, let them find their way. But you got to throw everything at them.
Right.
Don't hesitate. I think sometimes we shelter them a little bit too much from that. Throw everything at them. Trust me, it'll be easy to see, what sticks.
Yeah, kids are resilient, they learn to adapt, improvise, overcome better than the typical adult sometimes, myself included,
Yeah.
Wow.
And as long as they're active when they're younger, if you see them turn to mute, like something like music real quick, great. You know what? When you come home, the day you don't have music practice or band practice, whatever, go hop on your bike. Go play with your friends.
100%.
Get outside.
Join the marching band.
Yeah. Join this movement. Yeah.
Right.
Going along to Cuba,
Hey, listen, you got to be strong to walk around with that thing through a full halftime show.
Seriously. Yeah. Hey, and just so you know, for those of you that are tuning into our new sports roundup, and we have Thomas Brady on the show today, and I'm Tom.
And I'm Mike.
Mike Kluger. So we're having a pretty good discussion here. But we're also going to bring in sports from around the area. And Dominican University has an amazing website with, just every sport that's going on. There's a few games that are going to be playing, just going over to the 2024-25 Dominican University schedule here. And you can catch that over at, Dominican University. .edu. And we'll get that DUNY.edu. We'll also have scores from St. Thomas Aquinas College, Rockland Community College. And as time goes on, and this is not my strong suit because I don't really have that much of a connection around the high schools here, but we're going to bring in the coaches from the high schools to talk about sports in their area. And sometimes we've had some championships, man.
I am a graduate of the great North Rockland High School. We have more championships, I think, than the rest of the county combined.
Indeed.
We're like the Yankees of Rockland.
We actually had Derek Lassick from North Rockland was on the Dallas Cowboys. but he got to the Cowboys.
Pro, man.
Yeah,
and he scored a touchdown in every game he played.
Yeah, that's right. When Emmitt Smith back in the 90s, he was injured. He was laid up for like about 2 different games. And Derek Lassick, he was the starting running back, and bam,
We had.
I happen to be the same age as Derek.
Oh yeah,
I played against him in youth football in Suffern. I went to high school in New Jersey. However, we lost in youth football to his team every year in the championship game because of him.
Yeah, he got skill.
Yeah. And even the guys I play with in youth, when they played in high school, Suffern had a great team my age. And again, who knocks them out of the playoffs or who ends their season? It was Derek Lassick or Derek Owens at the time, and
Nice.
North Rockland. But Derek was, very successful. He had back-to-back amazing years that people you should really, really think about. His senior year of college, he won the national championship. His
Wow.
rookie year in the NFL, he wins a Super Bowl. So look at that 13-month period of his life.
Yeah, and there's a Wikipedia about Derek Lassick. You could just look it up. But yeah, he was a running back for the Dallas Cowboys. He was in the 1993 NFL draft, and he played for the Cowboys, the Panthers, San Francisco 49ers, and the Toronto Argonauts. And he was Super Bowl champion with, hang on one moment.
Cowboys.
With the Cowboys. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And Thomas Brady, who's on the show with us today, you're going to help us along with different sports. There's a whole bunch of different, extreme sports that are out there and stuff like that. But from your perspective, are there any specific sports that, because this is partially, about the show that you want to craft, what sort of sports should we focus on this show?
Definitely, when you talk about talk about anything local, but I think this is a great year to bring in, it's easy to talk about like a football, basketball, baseball, but we're also now in an Olympic year,
Oh, yeah.
That's
right, the Olympics.
And what about pickleball?
Yeah, pickleball, right? Make it the Olympic sport and start bringing it on. Because you had asked earlier about, are we going to see scholarships? Yes. Just in 2018, they introduced on the high school level the girls flag football. So that was in 2018. Right now, as we sit in 2026, I believe there is 45 or close to 50 Division I colleges full scholarship for girls flag football. So
that's amazing.
You're talking an 8-year window there, the growth of it. So something like pickleball, yeah, it can happen to be an Olympic sport. One of the reasons why people love the Olympics is because you see those sports that you don't see every day on TV. Speed skating, you don't see that once but every 4 years, and we all love it. We love to see something different, but yet they're incredible athletes. They trained really hard,
Exactly. And, and there are those mainstream sports that we know and love, but there's so many awesome extreme sports and also off the cuff sort of sports. We were at New York Sports Club yesterday, and I'm going to try and find a list of all the different alternate sports that are out there. It's pretty interesting, but guys, keep going.
Well,
talking.
I would like to loop us back into how the Olympics is a global phenomenon, but we here talk about Rockland County a lot, and we mentioned Derek Owens Lassick. I would also like to bring up Walt Weiss of baseball fame.
Oh yeah,
Tui, the track star.
Okay,
just that whole Rockland County and its schools have such robust sports programs that it allows us to find the cream that rises to the top, as Tom said. So the folks who are listening to our show, I'm assuming, are a bit more of the parental age. And it is a reminder to get your kids into sports, because it's not just a fleet of fancy. It's not just we're just doing this to do this. If your kids are really that good, we have proven track record here in Rockland County that we make sports superstars.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's not just in North Rockland. It's not just in Suffern. Like the list, I just called up baseball players that made it professional. And there's a long list of Rockland County citizens who became professional baseball players.
100%.
And that's just one sport, right?
Yep.
So as we are raising our children and enjoying the bread and circuses of America,
right?
Why don't we focus more at home, right? And that's the point of this show, right? Let's focus at home. Let's talk about sports at home.
So I mentioned one of my daughters is a sophomore. I coached her CYO basketball team all the way through from second grade. So her age group, the girls, her age, the year above, year below, I pretty much know all the talented high school basketball players right now. And, right now you talk local sports and you want to talk local sports and success. I think the cream of the crop right now would be what Pat Buckley has done at Albertus Magnus girls basketball.
Pat Buckley. Yeah, I went to
Yeah.
school with him at Albertus.
Yeah. So he has taken that program to the top of the line. They've won, state championships back to back. He has a girl this year who's already committed to go to Clemson next year. There's a girl who's a sophomore there, who's absolutely phenomenal. When this girl, Julia Scott, moves on to Clemson,
Right.
they have another girl, Sarah Majak, who's absolutely an amazing talent. Again, I coached against her in CYO. She was putting 20 points up a game in 4th, 5th grade.
Wow.
Yeah. So what he's done, if people really want to catch something really special, catch an Albertus Magnus girls basketball team.
Yeah, I was there from, let me think here. I think it was 89 to 92 before I transferred over to North Rockland. So, yeah, Albertus had a good, especially the baseball team when I was there. Yeah.
You talk Albertus baseball. So my cousin, Tom Brady, who was from
Tom Brady,
there's
right?
a trend.
No.
There is. He was an All-American. He was an All-American baseball player for Albertus back in the day.
I didn't know that.
He was All-American in college. He was drafted by the Minnesota Twins, and unfortunately, right when he was about to get his call up, he broke his foot, and so he didn't get the chance. But like you talk about, Rockland legacy and Rockland success. There's another one for you. He was right on the prefaces of being there. But
how about you? What sports did you play?
Growing up, I did everything, and then once I got to high school, again, my passion, I guess, my family pedigree was pushing me towards baseball. And my freshman year of high school, I just literally almost like walked off the field in boredom. I didn't like it anymore. But I had just had a passion for football, and I played football in high school and college. So it was, that has been, crazy for me. I got, and since then I got, over 20 years of coaching experience, on the youth, high school, college, and semi-pro levels.
Yeah.
So that's really my go-to. It always has been. I loved watching the national championship college game the other night. And so football for me has really been, my passion. I have nothing but girls, but yet, sometimes I run over to the local high school football games and watch. I go to my alma mater high school all the time, Don Bosco Prep in Ramsey, to watch games. So, that's where my passion lies.
Now, when you're watching these football games, are you finding like different formations are more effective depending upon the team that you're playing against? Like for instance, obviously you can have the I formation if you're really trying to pound straight down the middle, or, you could have peripheral wide receivers and, doing like a slant pattern. Is there any particular patterns that you find are effective, fairly consistently out there?
When you think about something like that, you obviously have to scout your opponent to know where you need to attack them. But you have to look inwards first, and you got to see what your strengths are to develop. If you're playing a team that has a bad pass defense, but you can't throw the ball, well then that doesn't matter. You still got to do what you're good at. Even though you have to attempt to exploit weaknesses.
Well, and I think that brings up a good point of sports are not just about the body, it's about the mind too.
Oh, yeah. Right? There's so much strategy.
When you hear the interviews of sports athletes after they have won and they were the underdogs, a lot of the times that came out was, hey, I watched all this tape and I watched that my opponent did this every single time and he had a tell and I exploited the tell. Mm-hmm. For example, your namesake Tom Brady of at the time the New England Patriots, O.C. Umenyiora, watched that every time Tom, and I don't remember what the tell was. He did this it was this play every single time. So OC got all of the
sack, right? Or no?
It was so. This was right when Michael Strahan and Chris Carr and all of these guys were on the team,
right.
And they were doing Spag's NASCAR package. So we had a lot of defensive ends.
Gotcha,
They were very fast, and OC said every time he does this, it's going to be this play. And they murderized the Patriots in the Super Bowl because of that, because the players watch so much tape.
Yeah. They review everything beforehand, after.
He got in the mind. So OC used his mind to get in the mind of his opponent, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And they did what we like to call the one giant loss. Right.
Yeah. And you just said that the key word there. For people who don't know, football is a lot of training in the off season, hitting the weight room. It's a lot of practice on the field. But if you take all those hours to spend the amount of time that coaches and players review game tape, it's probably times 2 of what they spend in the weight room and on the practice field.
I'm sure.
You got to understand what you did, what your techniques were, where your flaws were, how you need to improve, and then what your opponent's strengths and weaknesses you need to know how to exploit. So, the great thing that I've always loved about football, and I use offense as an example,
Gotcha.
When we go to school and we take a quiz and we get 10 out of 11 right, hey, great, you scored in the 90s. That's, you got an A. In football, 10 out of 11 people can do their job, but one person missed the block and you lost 5 yards. That wasn't successful. So, it's something as simple as that, the ultimate team game, because 11 people, 11 different individuals need to function as one. And, as I've gotten older, I appreciate everything that's why I've always wanted to coach whenever I had the free time in my schedule. And it's absolutely amazing. And it's also the sport where coaches really, really have an effect on the players, both as a person and, getting something done on the field.
And safety wise too, have the stretching, making sure that the muscles are warmed up. You see a lot of that beforehand, making sure that everybody's running up and down the field. There's stretches going on. So you're making sure that, like, when you're doing that play and you actually have to, and I lived this, man, 19 years old, I pivoted wrong, and there went my ACL. Not going to go into detail, but had I stretched and done proper, movement prior, so it's a big part of the game. So we talked a little bit about football. You mentioned basketball several times.
Yep.
Any particular teams that you watch? I don't know if you watch college or professional. Like, what do you vibe on?
I do watch it just as a sports fan. And when it comes to basketball, I love, it seems like the pros have gone, to more fraternity, like buddies get together if they're great and form a great team and win a championship.
Right.
So over the last 10, 12 years, I've always loved the college game just because of the effort the kids put in. You can see like a little faster of a frequency in terms of energy, like, moving around and being able to make the shot. It's almost like NBA is always a little slowed down from the college because, they're just a little bit younger and they can stick and move quicker. Oh yeah, without a doubt. And I think one of the most exciting tournaments is the men's college basketball tournament. I think the casual sports fan tunes in for the month, and everybody just locks on to teams they've never heard of. And you love when that small college where you never heard of it, you don't know where it's located, all of a sudden is making national news every morning. So that's the type of thing that I love to see. And then, of course, like I said, I when I have free time, I love watching the kids in the high school level, no matter what sport, just seeing the athletes and how great they are and the time and the effort that they put in, the coaches put in, the parents put in, driving the practice, driving to private trainings. And, I just love to see it all come together on a court, as a team.
Any standout teams this year?
For which level?
Yeah, well, I mean, starting with
Who are
like
your favorites?
Yeah, the ones that you happen to take note of thus far.
Unfortunately,
Any level, really.
I am a Nick fan, and
I know, yeah.
Oh,
They haven't cracked 100 since January 1st. Unbelievable.
And I don't know what's going on with this team, and it looks like the coach is now in danger after they got rid of the old coach, and now they're going to trade a couple of the big players. I mean, it just seems like they keep spinning the wheels in the mud, but they've got a decent team finally. At least they went many years with doing nothing, so at least they're going to be in the playoffs, and that's always from a coaching standpoint and a player standpoint, when you want to win a championship, you have two simple goals. Yep. Your goal number one is qualify for the playoffs. Your goal number two is win your last game, and that's it. Yeah, and there's your championship formula. It sounds easy. Now go do it.
Yeah, for real.
But
having a deep bench, having a good
I think the Knicks. I was 2 years old the last time they won one, or 3 years old, and so I didn't know what basketball was back then. So
yeah, man,
it would be nice to see the Knicks, win one before my time is up, and just so I can have some fun with that.
I was at Blockbuster Video as an assistant manager in 1990.
That's how old you are.
Yeah, and I don't mind saying it. I'm 50 years old, and it's all good. But yeah, Blockbuster Video, and what we would do we do overnight inventory review, right? So the Knicks game versus the Rockets, it was the championship, and we couldn't get the TV working in order to bring the Knicks game in. It was like some sort of static and everything. And I told my friend, I was like, dude, and I told him, get a taxi, because he was watching the game and everything. He recorded it. He actually brought it down to Blockbuster Video, and we watched it overnight during the inventory thing. So at like 2:00 in the morning, I'm sure like 3 miles away, you heard a scream like, no! Oh yeah, the Rockets.
Yeah, that was tough. I remember that one. That was tough.
Heartbreaker. And I agree with you. I would love to, we got the chance to see the Giants win several Super Bowls.
Yep.
Yankees, Mets in my lifetime. It'd be kind of even the Rangers won a championship. Got to get the Knicks in there at some point in the next, 25, 50 years, please.
I know.
I noticed you glossed over the Jets.
And the Jets. And the Jets.
And let us not forget that we also have other New York teams like the Liberty.
The New York Liberty, absolutely.
Right.
100%.
I know we have a soccer team, but I don't know anything about them.
It's the New York soccer team.
The New York soccer team. And more importantly, we have a professional sports team in Rockland, our beloved Rockland Boulders.
100% once again. And we had Seth from the New York Boulders on last week. He's been an announcer, and he's part of the New York Boulders organization for many years over there.
I think he was an inaugural, he says he's the last man standing. He was one of the first people ever.
Yeah, that's right. Sean Riley recently got promoted, and we're really happy to have Seth as one of our participants on our new sports roundup every Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning. And we're talking with Thomas Brady, sports performance coach. And by the way, we're going to keep on talking, but how would we be able to reach you?
If we wanted to have some coaching about our performance.
Exactly.
Best way to reach me is via email, strengthcoach, T as in Tom, J as in Joe, B as in boy, @gmail.com.
And what are your main customers, clients?
Yeah, what's it like? Things that you do.
What's your demographic? I know you mentioned that you do it for child athletes. Will you train the old folks in pickleball if they want to learn how to do pickleball?
100%. What I tell people is I train people from 8 to 80. The greatest thing about working with the older population is the human body is the same for everybody. Mm-hmm. So, I love working with somebody who has slight limitations. Say, all right, if you can't do this, we're going to do the best we can doing everything else.
So I might have to become your customer.
Hold on, I got to teach you a little bit. What happens when they reach 81?
I tell you, if somebody's active, that's where the old line that age is a number. I have a couple clients. I have one client who's 78 years old. you wouldn't believe if I give you his medical report about, the injuries and everything he's got in his back and this and that. And, you watched him play with his grandchildren. He had open heart surgery 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And, I always tell him, I said, if you didn't dedicate yourself about 15 years ago to going to the gym and really changing your life, and I tell him honestly, straight out, I said, that, open heart surgery, that would have been a funeral. You made the difference in your own life. You decided to go get a trainer. He trained with a friend of mine first before a friend of mine moved out of the area, and he passed him over to me. And, what he's done with himself is just, nothing short of amazing. So the older generation can actually teach somebody like myself, all right, he can't do this. How do we do our best working at 70, 80% movement? All right, let's go. So it really fine tunes your skills as a performance coach to work with the older generation, because I feel that keeps me going and better. When I get the young kid who can do everything, then we do it.
Now, do you have a space or do you go to them?
Either or. I do have contracts with places in Rockland County. Place in Clarkstown. I have a place in Orangetown. I do go to people's houses also. So, as an independent contractor, privately owned facilities like the big gyms, the Crunch and Powerhouse, things like that, don't take independents like myself. But I do work with smaller studios, privately owned studios, smaller gyms. They allow me in. I just bring my clients in. They don't have to be a member of the gym. They can be a member somewhere else. So that's fine.
What are some of the gyms that you typically use in the Rockland area, just so that we know?
So in the Orangeburg area, Blue Hill Fitness Plaza, Phoenix Fitness.
We mentioned. I remember that you mentioned.
Yeah. So the owner's name's Lauren. It's in the bottom floor of Blue Hill Plaza. Amazingly great small gym. She does a great job in taking care of that place. If you want comfort, but you want a gym feel and gym style, and it's got everything. It'll have, instead of like a Crunch having, 5 of every different, piece of equipment, she got a little bit of everything. She's got a small exercise room, group fitness room. She has locker rooms and showers over there. So, if you're in the Orangeburg area, that is somewhere you need to visit. In Clarkstown, right here in New City on Main Street, Way More Fitness. They are located right on Main Street. I
remember that.
They have a 2,000 square foot. It's a brand new studio, but yet they moved from across the street. They used to have about 600-700 square feet, so they're at the 2,000 square feet. Again, they have a small exercise room, and now they have a small studio, but now they have enough training equipment where I'm going to start bringing in, groups of kids. We have a kids program that we're starting. And we're going to do, like we were talking about before, the two, different types of kids, their level, we have a beginner and advanced program. Beginner for the kid who's never done anything yet. And then the advanced for somebody who may be playing sports, who obviously can do a little bit more. So we can get them into separate programs and get them, progressing evenly. So that's Way More Fitness on Main Street, and Jeremy and Brian are the two owners. Great guys.
All right.
So if you're in the New City area, please pop in there. They are, great guys, and it's a beautiful studio. They did a great job putting that together.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that brings it back to the small business vibe. And what's great about small business, and I've been in small business for 18 years. We have many chambers of commerce across Rockland County, and you get really good understanding about our local economy as well. Actually, you can learn more about that over at rocklandshopping.com. But what I find is that because it's a small business and it is privately owned, there's more flexibility, no pun intended, but there's more flexibility.
No pun intended.
Well, pun intended, but able to work with other local businesses such as Thomas Brady.
Let's use the word customizable.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
You get a unique experience by going to a local business.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example, because I know some trainers who work at some of those bigger name gyms, and you walk in there and you say, you want to hire a trainer, you get a trainer, and you pay for 10 sessions at a time. But sometime during that session, you get sick and then you're on vacation. You come back from your vacation. Oh yeah, I still have 2 sessions left. And then the owner of the gym says, oh no, they expired. Like, what do you mean? Well, that's our policy. Well, the owner of that specific gym really can't do anything about it because that's that corporate policy.
Mm-hmm.
You go into one of these smaller, facilities, they'll have, 90 days to use these sessions. But believe you me, we take care of the customer as a privately owned business. So things work themselves out, and, we worry about the people first.
Right.
You don't get that corporate feeling. You do help the local economy a lot more by, supporting smaller businesses like that. So
yeah, and I think the best run businesses are very much like really good sports teams, is that the culture, everybody gets along and they're aligned with the same organizational goals. And I think that spells out for big corporations, small corporations, and quite frankly, individuals. I mean, I remember, 18 years ago, just doing this whole thing by myself. And now we're thankful to have teams around us that get the job done. But truthfully, a lot of that came from, early, working with teams when we were kids, like being able to, get along with others and achieve a common goal of victory. That's the part that I love about sports.
And it's not just sports, although we are talking about sports today. Parents, listeners, citizens, all of the clubs, the Boy Scouts, the band, the yearbook, whatever.
The yearbook club, yeah,
right,
yeah, all of and there were niche, the chess club,
the school newspaper,
yeah,
right. The more you encourage our youth to go explore these clubs and not just walk through life doing nothing, the more enriched they're going to be, the happier they will be on the backside, and it might give them a passion. To Tom's point, you throw everything at them, not just all the sports,
right,
but all of the clubs. I remember back being a young North Rockland high school freshman.
Yeah,
they set up in the annex gym all of the clubs. It was a big club fair. When I went to Rockland Community College, there was a big club fair out in the field house.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave us a chance to walk around and check all this stuff out. Parents, citizens, listeners, encourage your children to go find out what's out there, because we walk through life not knowing what stuff is or where stuff is or that it exists. And I'm learning stuff every time I come on this show through Tom, because he's got all these great connections. We're talking to the politicians who are doing the things, doing the good work in Rockland County. We're trying to loop you all in, and we're trying to be your voice.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And the way that we manage it around here is leadership by incompetence. And I am the incompetent one here. But it's great to have, people on the show that can really kind of like bring together that team atmosphere, especially on our new sports show. I mean,
we got to be a good team.
Yes, exactly. So it works out good.
And part of what helps us here is our sponsors and our great sports sponsor, Rockland Boulders. Go check them out.
Yeah, New York Boulders baseball team. And Seth from last week, he was on the show. And you could check that out at the Apple and Spotify locations for Rockland's News. And Thomas Brady, we really appreciate you being on the show. I hate to break this to you. We're going to talk after the show is over today. But get ready to be doing this a lot more often. Sorry, not sorry.
Now, tell us one more time about how people can solicit your service.
Yeah. Well, how they can contact him as a customer. You don't have to solicit.
Yeah. And I also do coaching, not only the training. I also coach people. But the best way to get a hold of me is Strength Coach, T as in Tom, J as in Joe, B as in boy, @gmail.com. And I'm a strength and conditioning coach, personal trainer, and a holistic lifestyle coach. So I can help you on pretty much all ends of whatever you're looking to do for yourself. Get you some realistic and clarified goals for yourself and get you going. Let's start 2026 in the positive fashion.
Perfect. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us on our new Sports Roundup show. And there goes the closing music. Well, we want to thank our sponsors, But first of all, we want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in. Usually we get about 1,000 to 2,000 people per show. Not sure.
Tell your friend. Let's make it 6,000, 10,000, 50,000. How many people are in Rockland?
337,000.
I would like them all to listen to us at least for a little bit.
Yeah, and we can now talk about sports, local college sports, professional sports, semi-professional sports, even high school sports. We'll bring the coaches in to talk about their teams, but we want to thank our sponsors. What do you got, Mike?
There's 202 Cannabis. There is Whole Shot Bagels.
Yeah.
There is. I'm trying to do this without the list.
Yeah.
Let's see how many I can do. There's Yabu Fence. There's Dana Pest Control. Lauren Molino Muller. There is Easy.
I'm gonna play the music twice because we're gonna go through this.
All right. Now I gotta look. 99 Signs, FC Perfection, Clean Space Management, of course, Kobe Sushi, Easy Temp, Susan Bova of Coldwell Banker Realty, and then it's Rockland Music, and as we've mentioned several times in the show, our beloved Rockland Boulders. Keep the rock in Rockland.
Exactly. So we thank you once again. We got over the music. We're supposed to end right with the music, and that's okay. This is our new sports roundup show that we're going to have every Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning, and we'll see you next time. Take care for now.